All right, welcome to the Monday Night Hammer special edition today, brought to you by For Fantasy Sake Mobile Party Experience. For Fantasy Sake QC.com, that's where you can find my content. I'm Nick Garal. You can also find me on Twitter at run_the_sims. You can find my co-host here, Michael Sicoli, at Michael___Sicoli. Don't forget that second underscore. You're dropping the takes left and right. I'm not really on Twitter, I'll be honest with you. But before I get ahead of myself here, we can talk about that in a second. But special edition, one flu game. I don't know if you guys could tell. Last week I was in a bad way. I was pretty sick last week.
Oh, you sounded impeccable.
Bronchial, not viral. So it's in my chest. I get tested for COVID every day at work. Shout out to me. So it's the flu game. It's also, Michael, the day before my 30th birthday game.
Oh, well, that's tomorrow?
Big 3-0.
Oh,
Big
my
3-0.
Well,
Listen, man, you caught me at the right time. You've been here for all the big life events. Turning 30,
really
getting engaged. Yeah. So how are you doing tonight? I'm thriving. I'm thriving.
Oh, well, I'm not as hyped as a birthday eve you would be, but I'm feeling pretty good myself. I pulled off a trade last night that won me this week by I pulled off one of those rare trades where it was with my opponent and I took two players out of the starting lineup that way.
Wow. Yeah. You mentioned that. What was that guy? Can you walk us through that one? Because that's, to me, I did not understand it.
He's one of those fraud teams. He's sitting there at 6th with like the 10th most points for, and he's like, he's working the fence here. He's looking at DJ Chark on a contract year. He's trying to buy Laviska Shenault for low.
Dude, he's galaxy braining it. Wow, he did not buy him for low. He sold. So you got Justin Herbert in that deal.
Oh no! I wish. No.
Oh, Khalil
Herbert. Infinitely different.
Okay,
it was Laviska Shenault, and I ended up sending a 22 fourth. Who cares? Visca and a fourth for a 23 second Khalil Herbert as a Montgomery owner, and Adrian Peterson.
Okay,
I'm fine with it. Right. I mean, it's at the end of the day, and I hope that rev outside my window wasn't too loud just then. But
yeah, it's fine.
I'm pushing for a win right here. I'm sitting here at 4-4. These are the weeks. You got to start committing. You got to commit one way or another.
So the reason I had Justin Herbert on my mind is I went to the Eagles game yesterday.
My friend went to the Eagles game too. My roommate.
Yeah, it was a really good game. Honestly, Philly fans are great. The people that sat behind us were just screaming for the Eagles to run the ball, which actually was good advice because the Chargers' run defense is not very good right now. And once they started getting Jordan Howard going. They started getting Boston Scott going. Kenny Gainwell fell into the end zone and saved a lot of my lineups. Because this was a week where you could win with under 100 points in
oh
some
my
leagues.
God, it was a horrific.
What a bloodbath! And the one dynasty league I'm in, just to give you a reference, typically like the high score we pay them out the high score every week, and it's typically like anywhere from 170 to 200. The high score this week's going to be like 140.
Yeah, it
was a crazy week. Lots of upsets. When the Bills put up 6 points and lose to the Jags, you're going to have that. So let's jump right in. We got some stuff to cover here. A wild week, but the thing is, not a whole lot to glean from this week in terms of. It was just one of those weeks, man. It's kind of a wash. I would call this a noise week, not really a signal week. But we're going to jump into the last 4 weeks, some of the usage, some of the PPR point numbers, just to give us a clear look at who is starting to ascend here in the back half of the year and who might be falling off. So maybe some buy-sell conversations as well while we're at it. But I think the biggest injury that we need to talk about is Chase Edmonds. High ankle sprain, probably going to get put on short-term IR if he hasn't already. I saw a tweet which made sense to me. It looks like Eno Benjamin's going to project for about 60% of the Edmonds role, if that. But regardless,
that is awfully insulting to what James Conner just put on last week.
Well, James Conner looks good. He's in for an RB1 workload. If he gets 40% of what Chase Edmonds was getting, yeah, that's an RB1 workload, and we're off to the races. I got a lot of 0 RB teams in the best ball tournaments with James Conner like anchoring them. So hopefully he can score a lot of points in these next 3 weeks.
And at the same time, this is also as high as James Conner's value will ever be for the rest of his career. With no disrespect to James Conner, this is an RB1 here in the big fantasy push mode. So if you have him for that middling team, maybe you're looking to, you're not looking to, contend this year. This is the time to sell. It really is. He had a monster week. I'd be buying a contender if the price was right.
He is 26, which that's right in the middle, right? That's not a spring chicken. Not
He's
old.
26, not on the same contract, not on a good contract, and not on the same contract.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think he's a good sell, and I think he's a good sell because you could sell the fact that he's still relatively young.
He's gonna be good. It's a simple. Teams need him right now, and fantasy points. People will buy fantasy points.
Exactly. Zach Moss, concussion. He should be good to go this week, kind of day to day. Seems like he doesn't have a history of concussions. He should clear protocol. Similarly, Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson, both day to day, both could clear protocol as long as they don't have a setback. The Damian Harris one was kind of weird. I don't think it's ruled a concussion. It's listed as like a head injury. Same with Stevenson. Is Belichick like finding a loophole in the concussion protocol by listing these as head injuries instead of concussions?
I'm not sure. Belichick.
Yeah, right. But okay. I actually have never said this name out loud. So you might have to help me out. Albert Okwuegbunam.
I think it's oh my goodness. I used to know it back when the draft fever was high because people love this guy out of Mizzou. Everyone just calls him Albert O. So I'm gonna cop out Albert O. But
what a cop out. I gave it a shot. Shout out to me again.
Nope, that's not right. Okay.
But anyway, he did like something going on with his knee. It's not like season ending or anything, not that type of knee injury, but it could hold him out for a few weeks. I would probably put him in the week-to-week category, but regardless, Fant's going to be back this week. For the fantasy football landscape, like I spot started Albert O in a couple places, and he got there with 10 points as a spot start, which is great at tight end. Fant's going to be back this week, and you really need Fant to be back and Albert O to be out for Fant to really get there. Fant's talented. I'm where I'm at with Fant is he's probably going to break out with a different team. That's just where he's at. There's too much target competition in Denver. I mean, even with like Teddy Bridgewater's not playing terribly. He's distributing the ball well, but I don't think he can support a tight end like Fant as the third option on the team. Like Fant would need to be the first option or the second option. So be interesting to see how he plays without Albert O this week if that's what happens. But what do you got on the Denver situation?
I think it will take a different team or a different quarterback. Like this is the difference here. Like Denver can only support one, maybe two options on a weekly basis because that's what Teddy B is. He is a fine quarterback, but he's not elite. He's not good enough to support multiple options. And then, but that can change. Let's say Aaron Rodgers is a Bronco next year. I mean, who knows? Let's say they draft the next Patrick Mahomes, which won't happen. But it's very possible that you do see Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton and Noah Fant coexist, which makes maybe Noah Fant interesting buy low if we're talking about him as a talented player that just will take time. But as for this year, I agree. Albert O is a solid player. He's not going away as long as he's on the field. He's on a nice, cheap day 3 contract.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit frustrating for Noah Fant owners.
Yeah. Someone's going to – I could see Fant going to a contender that needs another weapon.
Tennessee.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Send them to Tennessee.
And typically we see these young tight ends like kind of break out with their second team. That's pretty common. Greg Olsen comes to mind. Jeremy Shockey. Those are some name drops right there. But and one thing that's interesting about the Broncos is like, yes, we've seen Teddy B support 3 solid fantasy options in Carolina in DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, and Christian McCaffrey / Mike Davis. But the thing is, identity of the Broncos is that they have two very good running backs in Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. We're going to talk about them a little bit later, maybe if we get to it, but just really briefly, Melvin Gordon looks fine. Javonte Williams is leading the league in forced missed tackles. Just isn't finding the end zone. That's why Melvin Gordon's outpacing him in points right now. But they can run the ball at will on some of these teams. So they're not really needing to lean on Teddy to dish it out 30, 35 times a game, which it's really hard to support more than one fantasy option. And the guy you want there is Judy, because it seems that when Judy's on the field, he's demanding the targets. Sutton has kind of taken a step back since he's been back, which is tough to see. But these things could change week to week. But I just think Judy's better, and he gets open in the area where Teddy wants to throw it. So I'm a big Jerry Jeudy fan.
Yeah, no, you won't get any disagreements from me. I think Jerry Jeudy is the number one on this team. I thought he was my favorite of that, stellar draft class. So
yeah,
it speaks to how, highly I view Jerry Jeudy as well.
Yeah. I put Aaron Rodgers on here as being out for quote unquote being a dumbass.
Sorry. From a journalist perspective, it pisses me off. It's just like, because the guy that asked that question, I'm kicking myself like making fun of him, because obviously I know what he's asking. Everyone knew what he's asking.
Mm-hmm.
Rodgers is just that petty. He's just that petty.
Yeah.
To specify and say COVID vaccination.
Yeah. So for those of you who don't know, Aaron Rodgers, the way the question was phrased is he said he was immunized rather than vaccinated.
In response to a question about vaccination.
Yeah, and he's not wearing a mask. He went to a Halloween party, so he's gonna. I mean, at one point they were considering like loss of draft picks and things like that. I saw that it's most likely just going to be fines, in accordance with the COVID protocols and the league protocols and league policy. But I mean, he keeps things interesting. I'll give him that. He should be back this week. He's eligible to return in week 10, and we'll probably throw 1 million targets towards Devontae Adams, and everything will be back to normal, and people will forget about it. And we'll be on to the next thing.
Yeah, and he showed his importance. Like, obviously, we all know how important Aaron Rodgers is to the Packers, but 2 weeks ago, Rodgers winning game confidently with no Devontae Adams, no Allen Lazard, no VS, none of it. And then they lose Aaron Rodgers, and everyone else comes back, and Jordan Love is just not that guy. So
he's not that guy, pal. He's not that guy.
Aaron Rodgers is a very strong MVP candidate right now, has pretty good odds right now if anybody wanted to take that chance of a back-to-back.
Yeah.
But
I'm a Matt Stafford stan myself, but
I maintain that with the exception of Lamar Jackson, there's not a single player.
Yeah. Can we talk about him for a second? My goodness.
Lamar Jackson is
just going nuts right now.
The Ravens and the Bills are by 2 picks to represent the AFC. I'm starting to lean towards the Ravens with each week. That secondary needs to clean it up. But Lamar Jackson is unstoppable. Rashad Bateman, who we can talk about a little bit in a short bit, he's a real candidate for a second half breakout. That's
and it's hard to spot those like from my perspective, because like really the only thing you're seeing is a pretty solid target volume. But the thing is, they're just leaning on Lamar more and more every week, it seems, because the run game is kind of broken down with all of the injuries. Lamar Jackson is it's just incredible. He's their number one running back, which you have an extra blocker for him. You just run him through with that run pass option, have the back lead the way. He never seems to take a big hit. Watching him run is like hypnotizing. Yeah. And then he can throw a 60-yard dart down the field. It's incredible. Like, I mean, Kyler Murray has that in his range. Like right now, like these teams are taking away the deep, like just absolute deep shots from the Chiefs and the Bills with this. I've looked into it a little bit, and I've read some stuff on this 2 deep shell, which is really given these high-powered explosive offenses like the Chiefs and the Bills a lot of problems, it seems, and especially when they don't have a running game. So the difference with, like, you see that the Cardinals and the Ravens are having a little bit more success is because, yes, they have that explosive aspect where you got Hollywood Brown streaking down the field. You got Rondale Moore, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, right? They have those downfield options on those teams, but they also have a semblance of a run game. Lamar Jackson being that for his own team, Kyler Murray being that for his own team. And then they can also move the chains if they need to. I mean, The Chiefs and the Bills just cannot move the ball on the ground, which, I mean, I'm an analytics guy, and throw the ball every time you can, but it seems that like the football landscape ebbs and flows and things get taken away, like people get figured out, and these offensive coordinators are going to have to adjust because they're sitting on these deep routes and daring you to run, and if you can't, you're in a lot of trouble.
No, I wrote a whole article about last year for fantasy's sake about how the Ravens run this, and it's a lot of it is a spread offense. It's so unstoppable where and it helps to have a better running game because J.K. Dobbins is gone, Gus Edwards is gone, even Latavius Murray is gone. But what Lamar Jackson does, just to touch on it real quick because I want to move on, but Lamar Jackson poses as that rushing threat. So then he takes that snap from shotgun. They still have to press a little bit because they know he can easily run it no matter what happens. But that easily opens up the ball over the top. And that run pass option opens up a slant across the middle. Or he could take off because that linebacker doesn't know whether to commit to that running back or Lamar Jackson. That's two different angles he has to cover, or that wide receiver who's cutting in. And meanwhile, all that play, forces the defense to press up, and that just leaves the safeties one-on-one. It comes down to how good is your safety. And they play Chiefs and Daniel Sorensen. Good God, we know what that answer is. It's a problem. Daniel Sorensen is allowed to again, not a stat here, but I guarantee you Daniel Sorensen has allowed at least one touchdown in every single game this season. I don't know how he's still out there. It makes no sense to me, and it speaks volumes about who must be behind him. But the Chiefs need to freaking figure it out. I can't even. It bothers me. It bothers me more than it should that the Chiefs are this bad.
I mean, as a Steelers fan, I love watching the Ravens play, which is sad.
You too, and it's frustrating.
Because then you look at the Steelers play. We'll get into that. I can't wait for your rant tonight.
Jesus.
But we got Steelers tonight. But let's jump into it. I want to take a look at. I got the wide receiver / tight end leaders for the last 4 weeks. So we're kind of just looking at what's happening most recently. We got teams coming out of byes, changing up their scheme a little bit, starting to see some rookies start to step up. A couple things that stick out to me. I got about the top 20 or so here. AJ Brown is commanding a 36.4 target, 36.4% target share right now, which is absurd. Anything over like 25 is elite. He didn't look great this past week, had a couple of pretty bad drops, but I mean, he's getting the ball thrown his way. He looks healthy. I mean, this past week was underwhelming, but the 3 weeks preceding that, just the monster's back. And with Derrick Henry out, they're going to have to air it out more and lean on another, what we call a grown-ass man in A.J. Brown. What are you seeing out of him in Tennessee?
No, we know what A.J. Brown is. We know A.J. Brown's an elite receiver, so I won't touch on it too long. And honestly, last week, if you did watch the game, or this past week, I guess, it was Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey was in his head to start. And it was Jalen Ramsey as an all-pro, a future Hall of Famer type of player.
Yeah.
It's the Ramsey treatment. We you got to say that Brown still put up 9 on the back of those 11 targets, that big target share we talked about. But I mean, that shows his floor, the fact that he was still able to put up 9. But I mean, Jalen Ramsey.
The Titans are still.
You have to schedule for that. You have to schedule that. If you're going against Jalen Ramsey this week, you have to temper or completely obliterate your expectations.
Yeah, until proven otherwise. I mean, Darrelle Revis was like that, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. Jalen Ramsey is not showing signs of slowing down. He's so big too.
He's young, man. Jalen Ramsey is. Let me double check this. He is 27 years old. He just turned 27 like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's got. It's going to be a problem for wide receivers for another decade.
I mean, I feel like if you're in any type of league where people are relatively sharp, like the Michael Pittman buy low window, it's closed. It's been closed for a while. He's been wide receiver 3 over the past 3 weeks, 23% target share, which is great. Lower volume on the Colts, so that's only 28 targets. But he's got a high catch rate. He's getting it done. He's scoring points. He's scoring touchdowns. He had a monster game in the past 3 weeks, so that's pumping his numbers up. But I mean, he's up here with some really good names, and there's good reason because he's an alpha. Bob Trees. Again, a lot of people quit on Bob Trees, and by Bob Trees, I mean Robert Woods. The past 4 weeks, he's a wide receiver 1. Demanding, again, a 20% target share, but on a high volume offense. So context matters. Michael Pittman, 23% target shares, 28 targets. Robert Woods at a lower target share is more targets. So you have to put these into the context of the team that they're on. And Robert Woods is starting to get going again. They put him in the backfield. I saw him rush for a first down last night while watching the game. He's explosive, man. People forget about Bob Trees.
He's amazing after the catch. He's fun to watch. People like him for a reason. He's a good player. And I mean, anybody that was selling him on, the first few games of the season when he put up 12, and then 7, like, oh, we're freaking out over that. Well, I'm going to drop 15, 27, 11, 15, 21, 18. Like, he's a good player. It's about trusting talent, something I think we might overlook in fantasy football a lot, although Allen Robinson might be begging us otherwise, but for the most part, you do have to just trust talent and you trust the offense. This is the Rams were going to be a good team. We knew that the Rams were going to be a good team. So anybody that was bought Robert Woods early, well done.
Yeah, you had to be patient with him. The thing is, he wasn't airballing, right? But he also
he just wasn't giving you 20 a week, which isn't his game anyway.
Yeah. He had a stretch there, I think, last year where he was just scoring so many touchdowns. But all right, so one that really stuck out to me here on this list was Christian Kirk. What do you got on him? I want to hear your opinion on Christian Kirk first.
So I was out on Kirk entering the season. I was officially like, listen, last year you gave me the line, word for word was, listen, I had an ankle injury in my sophomore season. This is my third year. It's time for me to break out. And then he did absolutely nothing. And Kyler Murray was fantastic last year, just as he was this year. And honestly, I'm not quite sure what the difference is. I don't know what's changed. But Christian Kirk, I don't know if AJ Green somehow mentored Christian Kirk into a new amazing receiver. But Christian Kirk's being productive. He's still catching. He's caught 4. He's had 4 receptions or more since week 5 every single game. So, I mean, he's being used down the field. That's what he is. He's a bit of a field stretcher, and nobody else on that offense can do that. Rondale Moore can, but he's a smaller guy. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if the Cardinals offense is going to air it out, which, the offensive line is better this year than it was last year. So that's how they're able to do that. And Christian Kirk isn't dropping them. So he's definitely a low floor type of play. He can put up those 1.9 weeks, which, he put up 1.5 against the Rams. He put up 8 against Green Bay, which you'll take that. But he has a high snap share and a very productive offense. That's all.
People just need to come to terms with the fact that he's ahead of Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore is more of a gadget player that his role should grow, but not while Christian Kirk is ahead of him because he's doing exactly what he's being coached to do, and he's getting it done. So I thought it was just surprising to see him. I mean, he's in the last 4 weeks ahead of Adam Thielen, CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Deebo Samuel, Cole Beasley, Stefon Diggs. Let's talk about Stefon Diggs. He's got a 19% target share. It's that whatever teams are scheming him out, they're not force feeding him the ball like they were last year. He was like, after the first month of the season, after he got acclimated to the Bills offense, after not really having an offseason to do so, he jumped from like about 6 or so targets a game to like 11 plus targets a game. We just aren't seeing those 11 plus target games from him. He's kind of hovering around 6-7 targets a game again. And unfortunately, it's putting him on the wrong side of variance. He's not giving those explosive plays. He's not finding the end zone as much. And I mean, he's not killing you, but he's not giving you round 2 value. Or in my case, I took him in the first round a couple places. But
this is a perfect example of just a little bit of regression that smacks you in the face. He's on track. Last year, he had 166 targets. That is otherworldly. And we knew he was still going to be a target fiend this year, and he was still going to be very good in that. He's still on pace for 104. Let me double check. Yeah, 144 targets. Would be his second most in his career. That's totally fine to be a wide receiver 1. That's a great number, but that's still 20 targets down from the year before. And, the yards per target is down, just a yard, but it's enough. And then more importantly, he's only scored 3 touchdowns this year. Now that could definitely change. That could be a second half tear. Who knows? But that's why his ceiling isn't there. That's why he hasn't performed to first round talent, because he hasn't given you the boom weeks. He's only had 3 touchdowns in 8 games. And given his expectations, given his volume, that should change. But this Bills offense it's more spotty than we think. And Diggs is, I mean, without those touchdowns, without that, if he's not going to have 160 targets, like a DeAndre Hopkins insane number, then he needs to start scoring to have the high blow up weeks that we want him to have. And the difference is they have a man, and they have a number 2 target they like. Like Cole Beasley's still getting his. It's not as much as last year, but he's still getting his. But now Emmanuel Sanders factoring in where Gabe Davis wasn't, and Dawson Knox is being used in the red zone where he wasn't last year. And those are the changes where Diggs is all of a sudden not judge, jury, and executioner. He's just he's the focal point. But that doesn't mean everything.
Yeah, and it's kind of puzzling because it has been an explosive offense, minus this past week, of course. But hopefully they right the ship. I mean, have they had their bye yet? Yeah, they have. They have.
Yes, in week 7.
Yeah, they've had their bye, so I don't know. Maybe they'll right the ship a little bit after this week, and he'll start to see some more volume come his way. The last one I want to talk about here, I feel like is your boy.
Oh, yeah.
Elijah Moore's on this list, but if you play a little bit of one of these things is not like the other, everybody else on this list is commanding close to a 20+% target share. Elijah Moore's at a 14% target share on an offense that
terrible.
I don't know, doesn't really have its identity. Mike White is the dump-off king. Zach Wilson could be back, but yeah, Elijah Moore, this is a classic regression candidate, but he's young, so he could see that role grow. I just don't know if this is the year. I mean, if you start him this week, great, count your lucky stars, but otherwise, don't expect that to be the norm moving forward.
Why not? No, okay.
Because he has a 14% target share on a bad team.
Hold myself back a second. All right. So I will, there is necessary context here of he just had a career day. Corey Davis was also out. That does factor in. But every single year, like clockwork, we do see a rookie receiver take a big second half lead. Now, that could be Elijah Moore. It could be. Could be Rashad Bateman, who I mentioned before, who is a really talented player who has a high ceiling with his physicality and route running and a very good quarterback in a much better offense. But for Elijah Moore, this is a guy that doesn't need a big target share to make a splash play. We just saw it last week. He turned 8 targets? That's a good number of targets. But
definitely.
He turned into 12 yards per catch, and it's not a huge number, but that's the type of player he is. He's more around that 12 range than he's been all season. And the coaches have shown that they want to get him the ball. They've had some designed runs for him, and I do think that will improve over the second half. I still think he's going to be a volatile player. This is still a rookie. This is still a terrible offense, and in the worst football city of the world right now. No offense to my New York, my home, but Elijah Moore is someone that we'll look out for. It's not someone that he's the type of person that when there's smoke, there could be fire.
Okay, I'll give you that. I definitely do think he's talented. I think for me to believe in his second half breakout, I think you got to be a believer in Zach Wilson, and I'm just not, unfortunately.
Sure. Let me make a small extra argument here, just very quickly. Tell me how these matchups sound. All right, Buffalo, whatever. Miami's a good matchup. Houston, solid. Philadelphia, Darius Slay just went down. That's interesting. And also, Darius Slay probably wouldn't be on Elijah Moore based on size matchups and all. New Orleans, same thing with Marshawn Lattimore, I just said. Miami, Jacksonville, Tampa, Buff. That's not a scary stretch for me personally. Now, again, the Jets are terrible. But that's another thing that could be in Moore's favor.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. I'm going to keep an eye on him. Do you want to do a little head-to-head here? You want Moore and I'll take Bateman?
Absolutely not. No, I'm
right.
Listen,
I thought I'd get you. On that one.
I brought up Bateman for a reason. Bateman, if I had to say an odds-on favorite, I'd probably say Bateman over Moore, just based on offense.
Yeah, I mean it's not out of the question. Could be the guy that comes out on top from week 10 on. But I just think if you're talking probability, better offense, more explosive.
I've been saying for weeks on this show to stash Bateman. I have ever since
Bateman has the first round draft capital, right?
Yeah,
so that matters.
First round draft capital, the better quarterback, the better offense, the bigger targets.
All right, I almost got you there. No.
You
didn't fall for it.
I may be in love with Elijah Moore, but I'm not crazy.
All right, so let's talk just briefly about our beloved Steelers taking on the Chicago Bears, potentially the only other team that's more of a mess than we are, but somehow getting it done. They're both very similar in that regard, where 1 week it's like fire everybody. The quarterback is not the answer. The next week they're like, oh, you know what? They got a little bit of something there. So what do you think? Who's your rant guy tonight? Who do you need?
Well, who I need is Najee Harris, and I do think Najee Harris completely annihilates them tonight. This Chicago defense has not been the same defense we've seen in the past. It's really, honestly, for lack of a better word, awful. It's been pretty awful. They're 24th against the rush. They're allowing 125 rushing yards a game. That spells, Najee Harris and this improving Steelers line. This marks them for a good game. This marks them for a solid win, continue a 4-winning streak right now. This is also asking Justin Fields to show up on primetime. That is tough to ask. Now, what I'm interested in watching, I think Najee Harris has a good game. I think Deontay Johnson does fine. Claypool can make his plays. I'm really interested to see how the running back splits with David Montgomery back and Khalil Herbert. Now, this is the first week back from injury. It is literally just activated off the IR today. So take it with a grain of salt. But Khalil Herbert has played very well. And I'm going to be very interested to see if he's on the field and, more importantly, when. Is he going to be on the field for potentially goal line work? I doubt it, but who knows? Is he on the field for third downs? That's possible. Now, we'll see. That's what I'm watching for on the Chicago side. On the Steelers side, I'm expecting the offense to pick it up. I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I don't know what the over-under is. I'm sure it's low, but I'll probably still take the under. But if Justin Fields runs, the Bears offense will be good. If Justin Fields doesn't run, the Bears offense will be shut down.
Yeah,
TJ Watt's field day as well. TJ Watt will have at least 2 sacks tonight.
The over-under is 40, and the Steelers are 7-point favorites at home, which that seems like a lot.
It's an ugly game. It's a PPR game.
I need 20 points from Ben Roethlisberger, which 3 years ago, I'm feeling pretty good going in tonight. I'm not feeling great tonight. Not feeling great. I also need 3 points from Allen Robinson, and I'm kind of nervous.
You should be, honestly.
So what have we done? Where are we? Allen Robinson to the moon, 3 points. That's all I need, buddy. 1 catch. I just need 1 catch from you. Ben Roethlisberger throws a couple touchdowns from 10 yards out because he can't throw the ball any farther. That'd be great. But let's hit it here because I want to go watch some football. You got something for us?
I will touch on one because I almost forgot because we didn't talk about it. But Froome's catch last week was unbelievable. And now Eric Ebron's out yet again. This is Muth's role, and that is somebody that can easily take over tonight. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, so we're looking out for Pat Fryer.
And I'm also going to be looking out for Muth to continue that streak. 2nd-round rookie out of Penn State, tight end.
All right, we are, baby. We are the pride of Happy Valley. A lot of Happy Valley guys in this game. Well, actually, just 2 big ones: Allen Robinson and Pat Fryer. Anybody else? Maybe. All right. Well, let's take it out here for fantasysakeqc.com. That's where you can find our content. I'll have a waiver article out tomorrow. Now's the time to be really taking those shots on the waiver wire. So we'll help you out. This is brought to you by the Mobile Party Experience, and I am Nick Garral, aka @run_the_Sims on Twitter. My friend here, Michael __Sicoli on Twitter. You'll find the hottest takes this side of the Mississippi over there on his Twitter. And good luck to the Steelers tonight. Here we go. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.